I really want a side income. Teachers here in the States are broke. I was also just really searching for alternatives to sleep training. So I sleep trained my first. It was a horribly traumatic experience, which I've talked about a lot on my page. And so I was just doing a lot of research and digging around, and I found a certification that seemed really cool that was much more like attachment focused. And I was like, well, this would be great. I could learn about sleep for myself selfishly, right? And learn how to do things differently with this new baby. But then also maybe I could see clients on the side, and this could be like a little side hustle for myself. And I had always loved babies. I was working with families already, so it just felt like a natural fit for me. So that was kind of my idea for my maternity leave project, that I was going to somehow manage to do that while home with my new baby over maternity leave.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spoil Your Baby podcast. I'm very excited today to have Rachel Shepard-Ota here with us. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Greer. I'm so excited to talk to you again and to be here.
I always love connecting with you. And I think you're doing such an amazing job sharing this world of parenting and normalizing sleep and supporting parents' sleep and so many other things as well. Will you tell us a little bit? I mean, I think most people know who you are, but for anyone listening who doesn't, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into this world of babies?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Rachel, and I founded Hey Sleepy Baby back in 2020. And I was a special ed teacher for about a decade before that. And when I started the platform, I was actually on maternity leave with my second baby. So I was, on maternity leave from teaching. It was COVID. And I had kind of gotten into this world during that time thinking, I really want a side income. Teachers here in the States are broke. But I was also just really searching for alternatives to sleep training. So I sleep trained my first. It was a horribly traumatic experience, which I've talked about a lot on my page. And so I was just doing a lot of research and digging around, and I found a certification that seemed really cool that was much more like attachment focused. And I was like, well, this would be great. I could learn about sleep for myself selfishly, right? And learn how to do things differently with this new baby. But then also maybe I could see clients on the side, and this could be like a little side hustle for myself. And I had always loved babies. I was working with families already, so it just felt like a natural fit for me. So that was kind of my idea for my maternity leave project, that I was going to somehow manage to do that while home with my new baby over maternity leave. But I did do it. Right? We can do anything, right? I know. So I did do it, and, started the Instagram page around the same time, and, it kind of just took off. And so I never actually returned to teaching and just really leaned into it. I love
that. It makes me so excited about the enthusiasm people have about what you share in the world, right? It just, every time I see, success in this place, it just like opens it up my heart, it's like, how exciting.
I know. Same. It's great. Anytime I see like some other new up and coming account that's kind of doing similar things, or, books or podcasts or whatever it is, I'm just like, yes, like it's happening. We're changing things slowly, but it'll happen.
Absolutely. It's still like a lot, I always say that it's still so much more to come. I think the default really is still sleep training and, more behaviorist lens.
Definitely. Especially, definitely. And especially here in the States, I think there's so much extra pressure because of the lack of maternity leave and support. But I mean, even I see with like your book has been revolutionary and like such a huge piece of the change, I think. I mean, I hear from people all the time talking about just how much they love it and how transformative it was for them. So I mean, we're doing the work.
Yeah, completely. And I feel like the pace of it spreading is increasing. Right?
Yes.
In a lot of places. And at least, I think when I started, I have a lot of colleagues, a lot of people who may be similar to you as well, like just didn't know there was any choice at all. And now I think maybe that awareness is kind of there.
A little bit more. Right? Yeah, I think it's a little bit more. I think, because even when I first became a mom, it's been about 8 years, and there really was no other option in my mind. Like bed sharing was just not even something that it never even entered my mind as something to say, oh yeah, that sounds good, or no, I don't want to do that. It was just like not even on my radar at all. Co-sleeping was just not an option in my
Mhm.
head. It was all sleep
Yeah.
training or
Yeah.
nothing. Sleep training or suffer was basically
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Completely. So it's great. It's great that we're here. So
Yeah.
today we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about a topic within, this realm that I get asked a lot. I know you get asked a lot about, and it's adding new baby to a family that's supporting
Mhm.
nighttime sleep, right? So yeah,
Mhm.
sometimes people have fears about it or just don't know what it's going to look like. So I think we should talk about it and help people who
Yeah.
listening, maybe some people who have their first baby right now and have questions, or people who have already welcomed a second or third or fourth or onwards baby and
Mhm. Mhm.
can be more at ease, right, with the transition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we start with your
Yeah. Like you said, I
experience?
think it can be
Let's start
oh,
with your
sorry.
experience because you have
Um,
you have a few little ones.
yeah. Yeah. So I have 3. So they're just about 8, 5.5, and almost 3. And yeah, I mean, you said parents are sometimes scared, and I can so relate to that feeling. I mean, with my son, I mentioned we sleep trained. We tried it several times, but it never worked. So he really didn't start sleeping through the night until about 1, which actually is pretty
Mhm.
great
Yeah,
now that I
lucky.
know no more. I know, exactly. But even still, like we weren't ready to have that conversation about a second until he was about 18 months. And then with our second, she took longer. So I kind of had to nudge her along and night wean her for her to actually start sleeping through the night. And that was at about
Yeah.
2. And that was when we were kind of like, okay, maybe we can start to think
Yeah.
about another one. So I also just want to like let people know, I think there's so much pressure to have your kids super, super close
Yes.
in age. And to, get pregnant by the time they turn 1 or
Yeah.
something like that. And I mean, there's all different factors for people's fertility. So I won't make assumptions, but I will just say, I think removing some of that pressure can be really helpful. Like you don't have to start to think about it when you're still in the midst of like really tough sleep or
Completely.
sleep deprivation. Like you can give it some breathing room.
Yeah.
Um, or at least that was the case for me. That felt better for me to kind of know that my older one was settled and we were sleeping through the night and we were getting good sleep again. And then I felt like I
Yeah.
could dive
And it's
in.
also a bit of nature's
Um,
design in some ways too, right? It is a very
right,
weird North
right.
American thing to say my kids have to be 1 year apart. They have like that's the only way they'll be friends. Like, no, my
2 under
my
2.
husband's
Yeah, yeah.
13 years apart from his sister, and they're best friends, and she's my best friend too. And I'm also like 10 years older than her.
So sweet.
Like that is not true.
Yes.
And also the other thing that comes into it is people think like, oh, the baby years suck. They're the worst. So let's cram it
Let
all
me get it over
in.
with.
Right.
Right. Why would you do that to
And it's
yourself?
not, right? Like there's so much joy and beauty to be reaping in those early years that, I would really want to bust that myth, right? Like, I'm so happy you brought
I
that up,
totally
right?
agree.
And
Yeah,
many health professionals will say, 18 months to 2 years for your own body to replenish nutrients to grow another baby.
exactly.
And then it's the sleep,
Exactly.
right? Like 2 to 2.5
Yep.
is like the long end of when
Mhm.
a lot of little ones will start to sleep through the night.
Yep.
And then it's like, it kind of makes sense, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It all makes sense. And so, yeah, so I would say first thing is just like remove that pressure. And then the other thing is a lot of people will come to me really panicked saying, my toddler still bed shares or my toddler still nurses at night. I just found out I'm pregnant. What am I going to do? I'm
Yeah.
freaking out. And usually the first thing I'll say is like, okay, you just found out you're pregnant. A lot can
Yeah.
change in 9 months.
Yeah. The long
Like
pregnancy.
it's not going to necessarily look the same as it
Yeah.
does now. Things could really change even if you don't do
Yeah.
anything. So just relax, and there's a lot you can do in the meantime to set yourself
Yeah.
up. And I think the other thing is really just preparing for I don't want to say preparing for the worst because that sounds scary, but you want to just have realistic expectations and know that your toddler may
Yeah.
regress even if they were
Yeah.
sleeping through the night. So like what's going to be your plan for that? So just having a really flexible plan of how you'll tackle it all in the night I think can be really
Yeah.
helpful.
Completely. Completely. And one other thing that came up too, and it really relates to what you're saying now as well, is like when people are thinking about it and they, let's say they do, let's say for age reasons or fertility reasons, like are needing to have babies really close together, right? Because everyone has different needs
Mhm.
and things, right? So
Right.
I always will say too, like also just be conscious and aware that you're going to have two babies, right? So it's either like,
Right. Right.
but
Yeah.
fully know you will have two babies that we're both going to sleep like babies. Or if you have the option, like you could space it out a little bit more naturally,
That's such
right?
a
Because
good
people have
that's such a
twins.
good way to think
There's
about
lots of
it.
people taking
Right.
care of twins and not sleep training them, and so that's a whole
Right.
other
Well, and
strategy.
a 2-year-old is still a baby. I mean, my third is almost 3 and we still look at her like a baby because she's just the baby of our family. Like she is a
Yeah.
baby. But I know that if I brought home a newborn right now, if we had gone for that fourth and I had a newborn, she would seem huge in comparison. But really, yeah, thinking about it like 2 babies is actually a
Yeah,
really
because
good reframe
imagine.
because your toddler will seem so old in comparison to the new baby, but they're really still so tiny.
Completely, completely. That's why I always like put out that reminder, like your 2-year-old's a baby. And
That's
and
so
then if
good.
we don't have that view, then we kind of might start putting too much pressure on that 2-year-old, right? Which is gonna
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
against everything. That more stress is gonna be play a factor in sleep as well. Okay, so let's imagine a mom. Let's say she's like messaged us like, help, like what can sleep look like when I add a baby? Let's say she has
Mhm.
a baby about to turn 3, almost out of the baby stage. um Maybe let's say they're waking, like maybe they need like help once in the night, something like that, just to like
Mhm.
keep that
Mhm.
a more complicated situation. And
Yeah.
about to have a baby, like a baby's coming in like 2
Yeah.
months. What could that,
Yeah.
and there are two parents in the home, like what could that look like? What are their
Okay.
options?
Yeah. I feel like this is probably kind of like the most common scenario, right? Is a toddler still maybe needing some support at night, which is, as we know, totally normal. And they're about to welcome a baby. There's 2 parents. So I would just give them all of the options. And I would say, do you want to make a change to your toddler's sleep before the baby comes? Because I don't want you making that change when you're like
Yes.
39 weeks, right? We want that change to be on the earlier side so that you have lots of buffer time, lots of time to adjust. I always say, like, don't bring your baby home and that's the night you kick your toddler out of your
100%.
bed because then they're going to resent the baby.
100%. Like, what did this
So
baby do to
you
me?
want to give these, right, you want to give these changes like some space to
Yeah.
breathe, right? So say you really are not interested in co-sleeping with both of them. You're worried that they'll wake each other up. You're worried that they're not going to be safe if they're in the bed with you together, whatever your reasons are. Then you might want to think about, okay, let's transition toddler to their own room. And if they're still needing support at night, I actually just got off a call with a mom yesterday where this was kind of their situation, where the toddler did still need support at night. They were neurodivergent. They were still waking up, taking a while to
Yeah.
settle at night. And so they decided to kind of do this divide and conquer, which I think a lot of parents just naturally
Yeah.
fall into, which was the dad in this situation took over the toddler while mom was still
Mhm.
pregnant. And they actually did a stagger like every other night. So every other night, mom would do bedtime and dad would do bedtime so that the toddler really got used to both parents doing it. And then as she got later on in her pregnancy, and especially as the newborn arrived, it was shifting to
Yeah.
mostly dad
Yeah.
doing bedtime. And she would still be involved in parts of it, right? So she would cuddle and read the books, or she would do the bath or something. So they still had that nice connected time, and the toddler didn't feel totally
Mhm.
replaced. But the one actually doing the soothing to sleep and responding to the night wakes and even co-sleeping with the toddler in a full-size bed
Yeah.
in his room overnight was the dad. And then mom was in the bedroom with
Yeah.
the newborn. And I think that situation works really well for lots of families, is just that kind of like, yes, they have their own
Yeah.
space. And we're also going to kind of divide and conquer as needed. And that was kind of what we fell into actually with my third as well, because my middle at the time was 2.5. She'd been sleeping through since we weaned. So for about 6 months. And then once the baby came, she
Yeah.
regressed.
Very common.
And we were also moving during this time. So she was in a new bedroom and it was just like a lot of change thrown at her all at once. She had just started preschool the month before. So it was just a
Yeah.
lot for her. So the regression made complete sense. But she was wanting to come in the bed with us. And we were not in our normal space. We were in a queen size
Mm.
bed, tiny bedroom. I was like, my husband's 6 foot tall and gigantic. We're not sharing the bed
There's
with
only a certain
you
amount of space.
and having a baby. Like, exactly. Like, I'm not doing this. So we started just having, everybody would go to bed in their own rooms. And then inevitably she would wake up, 12, 1, 2, something like that. And that would be the point where my husband would get up and go into her room and sleep with her in there for the
Yeah.
rest of the night. And that worked well for a few months. And then she grew out of that. Everything is just a phase too. We have to just think about like one phase at a
Yes.
time. What can we do right now to get the most sleep and
Yes.
survive? Knowing that it's not going to be like this forever. We're not going to have to do this forever. I think that's another huge piece to
Yes.
remember.
So important for every single stage. I love that
Mhm.
approach. And I think it works for so many families. And also I feel for pregnant mom, right? The last trimester.
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
you might
Oh,
want some
it's
space.
brutal.
You're gonna have your own sleep
Yes.
disruptions, your own, right? So it is lovely for pregnant mom to have dad take over, right? If that's available for a family,
Yeah.
right? Or another.
Yeah, it's really nice. And I get it that it's emotional. I mean,
Yeah.
we kind of did the same thing when we were expecting our second. My husband just totally took over bedtime with our
Yeah.
first. And we just kind of fell into that pattern. And I know it's emotional. Like I remember a few months into our new baby, our second being born, I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't done bedtime with our son in like a
Yeah.
year. Or, like it had been such a long time. And I felt really sad
Yeah.
about that. But then I was able to watch my husband and him have this really sweet bond. So it's just
Of
always
course, we
changing.
always feel that as moms, right? Like,
Yeah, we feel that guilt. And but my husband's like, yeah, but I love it.
yeah,
This is great because I'm away from
yeah,
him all day. And so
yeah.
yeah,
And I
it's
always think
it's
too,
hard,
like you
but
have
there are lots
those,
of different.
all like feeding and the early days of years of sleep, and
Oh
you
yeah,
put
I
it in,
put my time
right?
in. Yeah.
And I also think too, like that is always like there always is grief around that too, like letting go of like all the care and having your heart expand for another baby and the care that baby needs. And I always say too, like always be curious about those feelings and like what needs are underneath, right?
Mm,
And so if it's like, oh, I just maybe the connection time with that older child, you feel like you're missing that. It's like, let's put that in another
yeah.
part of the day, right? Because they're going to need that
Yeah,
anyway when the new
exactly.
baby comes.
Oh, for sure. You're going to have to be so intentional about that. And it's so much easier said than done. But a lot of moms do come to me and say things like this, where they're like, please tell me it's going to be okay. And that I'm going to love this new baby as much because I am just so heartbroken about things changing now with
Yeah.
my oldest and the fact that they're not going to be my only one anymore. And I'm going to have to share my attention. Like it really is something that a lot of people worry about and have, like you said, that grief around.
Mhm.
So just be gentle with yourself around that. And also, there are other creative ways. Like if you really feel like bedtime is your special sacred time with your older child, put the new baby in a
Yes.
carrier and have your partner take them on a walk around the block while you do bedtime, or, pump a bottle and have them do that
Yep.
feeding or something. Like there are other ways around
Yeah.
around
I've
that
I've
too.
had clients too where the newborn is really easygoing and often sleepy.
Yep, and can just
They
lay
just
there
lay
with
there
you.
too, or
Yeah.
they're like in that carrier, like they've been fed
Yep,
and
or you're just nursing them and you're nursing them in the bed while you lay with your toddler and listen to a story or
yep,
something and they fall asleep. Like there are also ways, and for solo parents, that's kind of what you
exactly.
have to do. So yeah, there's creative options all the way around, I
Completely.
think.
But I also think if there is the option of not doing it all every day,
Yeah, exactly.
like
Don't.
don't. Like we need
Don't do
we
that
need
to
you to have
yourself.
some
Yeah.
some time too, right? So like the every other night thing, right? There's just so many options
Yeah,
in what we can do, right? And
exactly.
like you said, nothing lasts forever. The first few months with the
Yep.
newborn might look very different than like month 6, right? Or month 10 or whatever it is,
Totally,
right?
totally. Yeah, I think it's actually I mean, granted, there are newborns that come into the world very alert and
Yep.
colicky and witching hour. Like those evening bedtime hours might
Yep.
be hardest for some, but for a lot of people, those first couple months, they're just so sleepy. If they're being held and fed, they're
Yep.
completely fine. And then once they start to wake up to the world, you really have to start learning how to balance both kids' needs, right? But up to that point, it might be a little
Yeah.
more
I
chill.
also love because I think it's something parents do need to hear a lot, like adding a new baby, like say it again that it's going to be okay, right? Because I also hear
It's gonna be okay.
I also hear people feel like they're cheating on their first, baby with their second baby, right? And just, I think that reassurance you're
Yeah,
giving right now that your heart does expand, that it's, you find that new flow is really important.
absolutely. And I think also just normalizing that it might not be immediate. Like every birth and postpartum is so different depending on so many
Yeah.
different factors. And if you don't feel that immediate bond, or you didn't feel that immediate bond with your first and you're worried you won't again, like they're all different experiences, or at least
Yeah.
they were for me. But yes, you will. I promise you will love your second more as just as much as your first. I was about to say more than your first. That was not a Freudian slip, I promise. But you definitely will.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Okay. So that's amazing. Let's talk about the other option that some people take too, which is not
Mhm.
changing very much.
Yeah. So a lot of people want to just keep things the same and continue bed sharing with everyone. And for some kids, that is necessary to have everybody co-sleep together for whatever
And you also
reason.
talked about before, like
Um, a-
having the plans for like if it goes, right?
yes, totally, totally. Like I said, like when we welcomed our third, our second was just getting up and walking herself to our room. What are we going to do? Lock the door? Like
Yeah.
she's going to come into our room. She's going to come into our room. So we have to figure it
Yeah.
out. So I'm sure you talk about this all the time and like the different safety
Yes.
aspects. For me, what I did was, because we did have those nights where we were just like, okay, fine, come in. So what we did was we had a bassinet right next to the bed
Yeah.
on my side for the baby. The baby didn't love that. So she actually, she spent most of the time
Yeah.
in my bed. So what we did was, set up our bed for safely sleep 7. And if my toddler did come in, she was always on my other side. So it was always my body in between the toddler
Yeah.
and the baby, which is like a
Yeah.
non-negotiable. And when we were in that other house and that was too crowded, my husband would get up and go to a different bedroom or go sleep on the
Yeah.
couch or something so that we had a little more space. But yeah, I would say, what would you say? I would say those are the most important things, is making sure it's, safe sleep 7 approved beds, sleep space. And then also making sure that your toddler is never the one next to the baby,
Absolutely.
especially in the newborn phase.
Absolutely. Because, sleep guidelines do say we not to have a second baby in the same bed as
At
the
all.
newborn.
Right.
And then so we have got like
Mhm.
for everything, we have guidelines and then we have someone's real life. Right. And so that they
Realistic.
can
Yeah,
be
exactly.
as
Mhm.
informed by them as possible. So I would say exactly what you said, right? Like it would be plan A would be great if newborn was comfortable
Mhm.
in a little bassinet, if the toddler had to join. And then if that doesn't work, then you are in the cuddle curl and, doing
Mhm.
doing the safe thing, knowing toddler knowing like you're going to be sleeping on my backside, right? Like I need to cuddle
Right.
new baby. Um, and then
Right.
also knowing your
And I would
toddler.
say even
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, even no, I think probably similar to what you were just saying about knowing your toddler, even that might take some
Yes.
practice for some, like really those Velcro
Oh yeah.
toddlers who need to be sleeping with you like in a bear hug. If you really don't think they're going to be able to adjust to their own space in time for baby, then maybe what you're working on is just turning
Yeah.
your back to them in
Yeah.
preparation. Because again, you don't want that to happen the first time
100%.
when you bring your baby home that first night.
100%.
So even just practicing, if you know you want to continue bed sharing or that's just what they're going to need, practice just turning your back to them, practice putting some space in between your
Mhm.
bodies in the same bed. Even that can set yourself up for an
Yeah,
easier
such a
transition.
good tip for that prep phase. But yeah, and I was gonna say also know the toddler about like, are they like a wild animal in their sleep? Like some will
Right,
flop over you and be really active. And in that case, you probably
right.
do want to do everything you can not to have that toddler in bed,
Yeah.
especially with a newborn.
Yeah. And in that case, I would say like a happy medium would be maybe a
Yeah.
floor bed in your room. So they're still on their own space, keeping baby
Yeah.
safe, but they're not, in their own room
Exactly.
if you
And if
don't
they're
think
not
that
okay
that's
with
going to be
dad or
possible for them.
another parent, yeah, because that's there too. And
Right.
just all
Yeah.
those options there, right? Keeping it in the mix and like,
Yeah. So that's a ton of
yeah, yeah,
options. Yeah.
100%.
And it might be different every night. Sometimes it's like a musical bed situation where every night is
Yeah,
something different, but you've got like this menu of choices now that can
completely,
work.
completely. And I think that's really helpful for parents. I mean, I think it's hard for parents not to have in this day and age, not to have a rigid plan to know it's going to work, right?
Mhm.
Like that's where like all the sleep training psychology comes from, right? It's like just tell me exactly what to do and I'll follow it, right? This is
Yeah, because it's
very flexible.
uncomfortable for us to not
Yes.
know. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, I think, for us to not have one answer or one right
Yep.
solution. But that's just, I mean, welcome to parenting. There's
Exactly.
no one
And
right
life.
thing.
It's a good
So,
lesson for everything, right? We
yeah.
have to be flexible,
Yep.
dynamic. We have to be considering everyone's needs in the family and figuring out
Hmm.
what can work, right? Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
completely.
Hmm.
Anything else that you can think of? I think we did a great job there.
I know. I feel like we covered a
Yeah.
lot. No, I think those are really the main things. Like just remembering to be flexible, remembering everything is a phase, and you will
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah.
You will be fine.
And for
Yeah.
people who do, you know, the planning part, the preparation part, or keeping things as they are and just continuing to, to sleep as you sleep, like it again
Hmm.
might not go as planned, right? Knowing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will also say, I know a lot of people are scared to have another baby because their first is such a tricky sleeper. And so I will also just say every child's sleep needs
Yes.
are so different. Like even kids with the exact same genetics, the exact same household,
Yep.
same parenting, all my kids have been
Yeah.
different sleepers. So, you know, I'm not going to promise you that if you have a hard first that your second will be easier because it's unfortunately not an
Mhm.
exact science, but just know
Yeah.
that they'll be different
And
and
I
you'll be
actually
different
do see
because you
that a lot.
have such perspective
Very
now.
anecdotally, I
Yeah,
see
oh, I
second
do too.
babies, and
Mhm.
some of it I think is parents' comfort and the
And our
stress
stress.
levels.
Yeah,
Exactly,
exactly.
right?
Mhm.
That does play a role.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
like, some people are shocked. They're like, first baby was, you know, for them, like, incredibly challenging, and they're like, "The second baby is, wow, very different," right? And so, again, no promises
Yep.
because
No, but what I also hear a lot though is that, okay, my second baby isn't necessarily a better sleeper, but I don't care
yes,
as
I
much,
know how to
or
flow with
I
it.
feel more equipped now. Yeah, I'm so much more flexible now. Like I'm not an
Yep,
anxious mess
not
about
trying to
their sleep.
force a
So it's just an
bassinet or
overall,
force a schedule. Yeah,
yeah. So it's like I'm actually getting more sleep because I've kind of figured out
yeah,
how to do that. Um, so yeah, I think that's really helpful for people to know too.
yeah, I'm thinking of, like, with your second baby, so many of the unknowns are known and the habits are there,
Right.
and,
Right.
that in itself is a huge help as well.
Exactly.
Amazing. And then for, these tips are gold, I would say. And then if you want help with your individual situation, there's lots of people you can talk to.
Mhm.
You can talk to Rachel.
Yep.
You can talk to
Mhm.
me. You can talk to all of the other amazing helpers there are out there. Because sometimes we really do need that individual support. Even pros like us, I think you can't really even help yourself, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's just like therapy, right? Like everybody can benefit from therapy. Everybody can benefit from having someone just bounce things off of, validate your choices and all of that stuff. So yeah, we're definitely
Yeah,
here to help anybody that's
I
going
love
through
it.
this.
Will you share with us how people can stay in touch with you and find all your work?
Sure. So I'm just at Hey Sleepy Baby most places. Instagram is where I'm most active. And then my website is where you can find my resources, which range from one on one consultations with my team to guides and free resources and blog posts. I have blog posts about all of this stuff that are totally
Amazing.
free about managing sibling sleep and stuff
I
like that.
love
So yeah,
it.
check it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you. So happy to see you
All
too.
right.
Thanks for
Talk to you
having me.
soon.